All right, semantics. Have any of you heard this word before, other than me saying this unit is on semantics? Semantics. Heard it? I'm not going to ask you to define it, but have any of you actually heard that word, other than this class? So maybe heard it before? No? Anyone? Heard it? You've heard it? All right, so semantics, when we are talking about language, this is a definition that you should know. In the study of language, and there are all kinds of things that you can look at when you are studying language, but semantics is concerned with the meaning of words, expressions, and sentences. So semantics is all about meaning, okay? So I'll give you a minute to jot that definition down for yourself. All right, so semantics, concerned with meaning. All right, on your paper, I'm just going to give you about 5 minutes, maybe just a little bit less, to respond to these two prompts. First of all, why is language important? You can reflect on the little game of charades that we played. You can think about just how you use language, what it allows us to do. And if you can, I'd like you to connect it to the Solzhenitsyn speech, some of those ideas that we talked about at the beginning of class. And then the second part of this is, have you had any experience with miscommunication with someone? So where have you ever had some miscommunication? Thinking about verbal communication, but also things like text messages, instant messages, emails, things of that nature. So you have two parts to this question. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to go ahead and respond. About 2 more minutes. All right, so somebody start us off. Why is language important? What does it allow us to do? What did you think of?
Communication.
Communication, right? Just the basic communication all the way to probably more complex ideas and things. Okay, what else did you write about? What does language allow us to do? Why is it important? About all kinds of things, right? So it allows us to learn about our own culture, about other cultures, education in general. We can learn all kinds of things, not just about culture, but what if we didn't have language? What would classes be like? It would be very difficult, right, to understand anything. What if all I could do was act things out for you? Might be entertaining. Would you really learn that much? What? Well, we wouldn't really have any class. I mean, think about over the course of the day, how often you're using language, and it doesn't matter necessarily if it's English class or science class or math class, you can't act out very many higher level concepts, right? It's difficult to act out how you're feeling, emotions, complex ideas. Right? We rely on language to be able to have that communication, to be able to ask somebody something, to communicate your needs and your wants. I mean, even just basic things. If you went into a restaurant and you were trying to order a hamburger and you wanted it without tomatoes, but you wanted lettuce and onions, and you had to act that out, it'd be tough. Have any of you spent a day where you didn't talk? Maybe by choice? Okay. Any of you done that? How tough is it? Did you at least get to write your nodding? Did you write? No? No communication at all?
Yeah.
Was it tough? Yeah, there's so many things that we rely on language just to communicate and be able to tell people what we're thinking, what we want, what we're doing, what we know, right? Language allows us to have literature. It allows us to keep records of the past. It allows us to make advances, right? Because how would we ever be able to advance in any field if we didn't have a way to communicate our ideas or to build on things that have already happened? Okay. What about in the speech? Any of you make some connections to the Solzhenitsyn speech? Yeah, we wouldn't even have his speech without language. He's able to communicate all of those things that he feels so strongly about, but he also talks about how the writer is able to, conquer falsehood and, stand up against violence and do all of those things, and we can only do that with language. How many of you have had some experiences with miscommunication? Any stories you would like to share where you've had some miscommunication? You want to tell us something that's happened?
I had to call the police a few years ago because this guy was threatening me and my cousin when we were at the park.
Uh-huh.
And the police couldn't hear me.
Oh.
And so it was not really a good situation because cell service was crappy.
Okay.
And then they couldn't get to us.
Okay, so you were in a bad situation and couldn't really communicate that you needed help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of that maybe just because of the breakup of the cell service and things like that, but yeah, that's difficult when you're trying to reach out to somebody. Okay. Anyone else? Miscommunication? Have any of you ever had any kind of miscommunication or a fight with your friends because of text message?
Yeah.
Okay, why do we have issues with text message sometimes? What do we lack there?
Well, because it can how people tone sometimes, so it's personality.
Yeah, you read it like they're saying it in a mean way. Maybe that's not what they intended, Terrence?
Sarcasm.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely pieces that we very much rely on our tone or how we say something that enhances what those words mean, right? When we're talking about meaning, well, so much more goes into a word than just what that definition is. It's how we say it. If there was sarcasm attached to it, what our body language says, what your facial expression says. Maybe we've eliminated some of that miscommunication in text messaging because of emojis, because you can put in the little faces or the little pictures and things, but there is still more room for miscommunication. In an email, right? Somebody might read it one way and that's not how you intended it, right? We've all been there where you're like, whoa, that's not what I meant. But how the person read it maybe was different. So they put their own meaning to it. So language is super important. We need it to communicate, but we also have lots of room for miscommunications. If you don't know what a word means, right, there's room for miscommunication. Somebody uses a slang term that you're unfamiliar with, you might have some miscommunication, right? So there's all kinds of places where, you know, we need language to be able to communicate, but there's also a lot of room for that miscommunication. All right, moving on. So I'm going to give you 3 things on your paper. I want you to write down what you know about these 3 things. So Antarctica, marriage, and old age. You can just list them and list out what you know. I'm going to give you like 3 minutes. What do you know about those 3 things? Antarctica, marriage, and old age. Take like 30 more seconds. All right, let's start with the Antarctica. Raise your hand. Tell me something that you know about Antarctica. Go ahead.
It's cold.
It is cold. Jack?
Penguin.
Penguins. Terrence?
It's the it's really low on the ground.
The
right?
South
Not-
Pole? Is that where you were going with the...
Yeah, South
Okay,
Pole.
the South Pole. Okay, go ahead.
No one lives there?
No one really lives there, yep. What else do we know about it? Go ahead. It's a country. Yeah, it's a country. Yeah, it's a continent, country. Yep, that works. And
It has no time zone.
it doesn't? I didn't know that. That is super cool. All right, so it has no time zone. What else do you know about Antarctica? Anything else?
No.
Snow. It's big. No one's really living there, except for people like scientists who are studying it. Somebody told me today it's like negative 136 degrees or something. Yeah, it's very cold. Okay. Tell me something about marriage. Ethan?
It's cold.
Marriage is cold. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's expensive.
It is expensive. Okay. What else?
It's a promise.
A promise. Good. What else? Marriage.
Been around for a long time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Usually a wedding.
There's a wedding. Some kind. Ethan?
Cultural ceremonies.
Yeah. There's the ceremonies and what that looks like can be very different on different cultures. Yeah.
2 people.
2 people.
Sometimes ends in a disaster.
Ends in disaster. And divorce, yeah. So somebody told me today it's like 50% divorce rate nowadays. So, all very true. I'm not going to talk about old age yet because we're just about out of time. But just so that we have a clear breaking point for today, stop and listen. Stop and listen. Keep your notes somewhere where you can get to them. Tomorrow we are going to pick up and we're going to talk about old age, and then I'll explain why I had you make these lists. Please don't forget that if you have not sent me the email, you have until 5 p.m. to do that, but you may go ahead and start packing up. Have a good rest of your day.